From the moment this story hit the underground celebrity circuits, insiders said it felt like the universe itself stopped spinning. This isn't drama. This isn't mess. This isn't even scandal. What Tamar Braxton just exposed is the kind of generational, reputation-ending, family-shattering truth that threatens to rewrite everything we thought we knew about the Braxtons. Because Tamar didn't just hint at dysfunction. She didn't suggest tension. She didn't imply betrayal. She marched straight into the spotlight and ripped open a secret so dark, so twisted, so wildly unthinkable that the entertainment world is still gasping for air. Tamar claims Towanda and Michael Braxton had a dirty, dangerous relationship, and that Towanda, not the woman everyone thought, is actually Ashlee's mother. The second Tamar said it, Hollywood went silent. Producers froze mid-email. Paparazzi stopped in their tracks. Social media erupted into a tidal wave of shock, disbelief, and unfiltered chaos. Fans screamed that Tamar had finally crossed the line. Others insisted she had only scratched the surface. And behind the scenes, executives scrambled, lawyers panicked, and the Braxton family allegedly went into lockdown mode. But the most chilling part isn't that Tamar exposed a forbidden relationship. It's that she claims she has receipts, leaked calls, deleted texts, unreleased footage that they tried to bury. And she is finally ready to unload everything the world was never meant to hear. If you think you've heard Braxton drama before, you have no idea what's coming. This is the revelation that could end a dynasty. The moment Tamar opened her mouth, people swear the room temperature dropped 10 degrees. It was like every hidden secret, every buried grudge, every whispered rumor in Braxton history suddenly rose from the grave at once. She didn't just hint. She didn't tease. She went straight for the jugular. She said the words that ripped the air apart like lightning. Towanda and Michael had a relationship nobody was supposed to know about. And Towanda is Ashlee's real mother. The producer's jaw literally unhinged. The sound guy's hand started shaking so hard he dropped his mic. A woman from the hallway poked her head in like she sensed a spiritual disturbance. But Tamar kept talking. Her voice didn't tremble. Her hands didn't shake. She spoke like someone who had been silenced for so long that she no longer cared about consequences. She said the family had been lying for years. She said the timeline everyone accepted was fabricated. She said the real story was covered up to protect certain reputations and certain careers. She said Ashlee grew up believing one story while living inside another. She said the truth was too dangerous to ever put on television. She said the network was told to cut entire conversations. She said producers were threatened. She said NDAs were waved like weapons. And then she dropped the quietest, deadliest sentence of all. I've seen the DNA test. The room imploded. Not with sound, but with silence so thick it felt physical. People froze like statues in a cursed museum. Someone coughed and instantly apologized, as if even breathing too loudly might interrupt whatever was happening. Tamar leaned back slowly, eyes sharp, jaw locked, the look of a woman who had carried a bomb for years and finally decided to drop it. She said the DNA test was taken years ago, privately, secretly, and quietly hidden. She said Ashlee was never supposed to find out. She said Towanda begged to tell the truth, but the family shut her down. She said Michael had the biggest role in the cover-up. According to Tamar, Michael manipulated everyone. He guilt Towanda. He guilt Evelyn. He guilt Tracy. He guilt anyone he could corner emotionally. Tamar said he convinced them all that exposing the truth would destroy the family. She said he convinced Towanda she would lose everything, her career, her relationships, her reputation, if anyone ever connected the dots. She said he weaponized fear like currency. Tamar didn't stop there. She said the relationship wasn't just secret. It was forbidden. It was wrong. It was the kind of relationship that would have ended careers instantly if the public knew. As she spoke, the producer finally found his voice enough to whisper, "Tamar, are you sure you want to say this on camera?" She turned to him so slowly it felt like a movie. She said, "I'm not protecting liars anymore." The crew exchanged panicked glances. They knew what she was saying was dynamite soaked in gasoline. They knew networks didn't survive scandals like this. They knew families didn't survive accusations like this. And they especially knew the Braxton family would go to war before letting something like this hit the public. But Tamar was unstoppable. She said she remembered the night the relationship began. She said she remembered hearing arguments behind closed doors. She said she remembered Towanda crying. She said she remembered Michael saying, "Nobody needs to know." She said she remembered hearing Evelyn telling Towanda that some things had to be done for the sake of family unity. She said Evelyn was the mastermind behind the silence. She said Evelyn taught them all to protect the image, not the truth. She said Evelyn told Towanda, "If this gets out, it will ruin you." Tamar said those words were the chains that kept Towanda silent for years. Then she described Ashlee. Tamar said the girl always sensed something off. She said Ashlee used to ask strange questions as a child. She said Ashlee would stare at Towanda intently, like she saw pieces of herself in her aunt. She said she overheard Ashlee once say, "Towanda looks like me when she cries." Tamar said that was the first time she felt physically sick. The producer whispered again, "Should we stop recording?" Tamar snapped, "If you stop recording, I walk out and say it myself on Instagram Live." Nobody touched the cameras after that. Suddenly, a phone buzzed. Then another. Then another. News had leaked. Someone inside the building texted a blogger. A blind item hit Twitter instantly. A major reality star accuses sister and brother of hidden relationship that produced a secret child. The internet exploded. People started guessing immediately. Some names were ridiculous. Some were too close for comfort. Then someone tweeted a photo of the Braxton family with a red circle around Towanda and Michael. It got 50,000 retweets in an hour. Fan pages panicked. Some defended the family. Some demanded answers. Some made conspiracy threads with evidence from old episodes. People pulled up clips where Michael hugged Towanda for too long. People pulled up clips where Towanda cried suddenly and blamed it on stress. People pulled up footage where Evelyn snapped at anyone trying to discuss past mistakes. Everything started looking suspicious. Everything became a clue. And Tamar's interview wasn't even done. She said she had receipts. She said she had texts. She said she had a voicemail where Michael allegedly admitted things no man should ever admit. She said she had screen recordings of Towanda confessing late at night, whispering so quietly you could barely hear her trembling voice say, "I can't hide this anymore." The producer swallowed hard. The sound guy wiped sweat off his forehead. Someone in the hallway muttered, "Oh my God," before walking away quickly. Tamar said she kept those recordings for years, because she knew the day would come when truth needed armor. She said she was done being the villain to protect people living in darkness. She said Towanda's soul was breaking under the weight of secrets. She said Ashlee deserved to know who her real mother was. She said the world deserved the truth. Then came the moment that shattered the last bit of calm in the room. A phone rang. It was Towanda. Tamar stared at the name flashing on the screen. Everyone held their breath. She answered. Towanda was sobbing. Not crying, sobbing. Her voice barely formed words. She whispered, "Tamar, please don't do this. While the internet was turning into a volcano, Tamar was still sitting in that chair with cameras rolling. She said she expected backlash. She said she expected denial. She said she expected her family to label her as dramatic, unstable, or attention-seeking. But she didn't expect what happened next. Her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Towanda. It was Tony. Tamar answered with shaky hands. Tony's voice was low, trembling, but not from fear. From fury. She said, "Tamar, stop talking before you destroy all of us." Tamar said she froze. Not because of fear, but because of the familiarity of that tone. It was the same tone Tony used whenever she was protecting something bigger than the family name. Tamar asked, "What are you hiding?" Tony didn't answer the question. She only repeated, "Do not go any further." Then the line cut off. The producer whispered, "This is spiraling out of control." Tamar whispered back, "It's already been out of control for decades." Then came the next twist. A blogger leaked screenshots allegedly showing emails between network executives discussing Towanda's pregnancy years ago. One email said, "We cannot let the public know Towanda gave birth." Another said, "The father's identity complicates things." The internet lost its collective mind. People began using phrases like cover-up, corruption, and generational manipulation. Some fans argued Tamar was lying. Others said she was finally telling the truth the family had been burying under contracts and smiles. Meanwhile, Michael Braxton was reportedly pacing inside his home, yelling so loudly that neighbors heard him through their walls. One neighbor claimed he shouted, "Tell her to keep her mouth shut before she ruins everything." That quote spread instantly. People used it as proof he had something to hide. But the real shock came when Ashlee herself broke her silence. She posted a black screen with 4 words. "I want the truth." Those 4 words changed everything. Celebrities chimed in instantly. One reality star tweeted, "Kids deserve answers, not secrets." Another singer wrote, "Family trauma can't stay buried forever." A talk show host tweeted, "This tea is boiling and scorching at the same time." Even bigger influencers began picking sides. Some sided with Tamar. Some defended Towanda. Some attacked Michael. Some demanded Evelyn speak up. Evelyn, however, stayed quiet. Too quiet. A silence so calculated it felt like strategy. Insiders said she turned off her phone, shut her blinds, and refused to speak with anyone. They said she was meeting with lawyers. They said she was preparing a public statement. They said she was furious at Tamar for dragging the family skeletons out of the basement and throwing them into the street. Then a new leak surfaced. Someone released a secretly recorded audio clip of a heated conversation between Evelyn and Towanda from years ago. In the audio, Towanda sobbed, "I can't lie anymore." And Evelyn snapped back, "You will. You don't have a choice." That audio became the #1 trending topic in less than an hour. People began calling Evelyn the puppeteer. Memes circulated labeling her the architect of secrets. YouTubers made documentaries overnight breaking down her manipulation patterns. Meanwhile, Tamar kept going. She said the reason the truth never came out was because every time Towanda tried to speak, Michael manipulated her emotionally. She said he convinced her that Ashlee would hate her if she found out the truth. She said he convinced her the world would never forgive her. She said he convinced her she wasn't strong enough to be a mother in public. According to Tamar, Michael used Towanda's insecurities as weapons. He pushed her into silence. He controlled the narrative. He made himself look like the hero while hiding behind a facade of innocence. Then Tamar revealed something even more disturbing. She said Michael once threatened to expose another family secret if Towanda ever told the truth. A secret that had nothing to do with Ashlee at all. A secret so explosive Tamar refused to say it on camera without protection. She said, if he wants to threaten her, let him threaten me instead. The producer looked horrified. He said, Tamar, this is too much. Tamar said, no. This is honesty. This is freedom. This is overdue. Then another twist arrived, like a hurricane crashing through the walls. A private investigator hired by a fan page claimed they discovered a birth certificate sealed by court order. They claimed the mother's name was withheld. They claimed the father's name was partially redacted. They claimed the date aligned with the timeline Tamar exposed. The internet turned into a courtroom. Everyone debated. Everyone speculated. Everyone demanded answers. Tamar's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text message from an unknown number. It said, stop or we release the footage. Tamar turned her screen toward the producer. He went pale. He whispered, what footage? Tamar didn't answer. She only stared into the camera with eyes full of defiance. She said, this family has been controlled by secrets long enough. She said she refused to live in fear. She said she refused to be intimidated. Then the door to the studio burst open. A young assistant ran in holding a laptop. She said, you need to see this right now. Everyone gathered around the screen. A new anonymous upload had appeared online. The title was simple. The truth about Ashlee's birth. The video thumbnail was blurred. The runtime was 38 seconds. The internet was already watching it by the time Tamar clicked play. But before she could hit the spacebar, the assistant grabbed her wrist. Her voice trembled. She whispered, Tamar, the person in the video isn't Towanda. It's someone else. Someone nobody expected. Someone who will destroy everything if the truth comes out. The room went silent as all eyes locked onto the assistant's trembling hands. Nobody breathed. Nobody blinked. Nobody dared move. Tamar leaned forward slowly, as if the truth itself were sitting on the laptop waiting to attack. She whispered, if it's not Towanda, then who is it? The assistant swallowed hard. Her voice cracked as she said, it's someone the internet isn't even preparing for. The producer stepped closer, eyes narrowed, bracing for impact. The screen flickered. The blurred thumbnail sharpened slightly. A shadowy figure appeared, standing beside a hospital bed. The camera angle showed only a silhouette. But the stance, the posture, the presence, it was unmistakable. Tamar's breath hitched. Her eyes widened. She whispered one name under her breath. Michael. The assistant nodded slowly. Tamar staggered back, like the revelation physically slapped her. The producer grabbed the desk to steady himself. The sound guy muttered, oh my God, over and over like a prayer or a curse. The video wasn't even fully clear, but the outline was enough to unleash a catastrophic realization. Michael Braxton was in the delivery room. Not as a visitor. Not as a brother. Not as a supporter. But as someone with authority. As someone with reason to be there. As someone acting like a father. The internet erupted instantly. Comments flooded in at a speed no system could process. People wrote, why would he be in the room? Others wrote, where was the supposed mother? Others demanded, who signed the birth papers? Meanwhile, Tamar's face drained of color. She whispered, Towanda told me she delivered alone. The assistant shook her head. She said, somebody lied. Suddenly, another anonymous leak hit social media. A blurry screenshot of a hospital registration form. The mother's name was redacted. But the emergency contact listed was Michael Braxton. She said, "Somebody lied." Suddenly, another anonymous leak hit social media. A blurry screenshot of a hospital registration form. The mother's name was redacted. But the emergency contact listed was Michael Braxton. People screamed in the comments. Nobody could understand why he was the emergency contact for a birth allegedly connected to another woman entirely. Then a second screenshot leaked. This one showed a line that sent shockwaves across the world. Relationship to patient, partner. Tamar clutched her chest. She said, "No, she told me. She said she was alone." The producer whispered, "This is darker than we thought." Before anyone could recover, Tamar's phone rang again. She looked down and saw a name she didn't expect. Evelyn. Tamar answered cautiously. Her mother's voice came through sharp and trembling. She said, "Stop talking." Tamar said, "Tell me the truth then." Evelyn's voice cracked as she said, "Some things were never meant to come out." Tamar shouted, "Why was Michael in the delivery room?" The line went silent. Not quiet, silent, like Evelyn was holding her breath. Then Evelyn whispered, "Because she wasn't the only one involved." Before Tamar could respond, Evelyn hung up. The room spun. The assistant whispered, "What does that mean?" The producer whispered, "Who else was involved?" And then the biggest leak of the entire scandal dropped. Someone posted a 20-second clip of a much younger Ashlee talking to a friend on FaceTime years ago. In the clip, Ashlee laughed nervously. She said, "My family is weird about birth stories. They always change the details. One time they said I was born early. Another time they said I was born late. Another time, they said the lady who had me wasn't supposed to raise me." The clip ended with Ashlee saying something that stabbed straight through the internet. She said, "Maybe one day I'll find out who my real mom is." That clip spread like a virus. People cried reacting to it. People screamed about manipulation. People accused the entire family of emotional sabotage. Meanwhile, Tamar stared at the laptop as the 38-second anonymous video finally began to play. The first frame showed a woman in a hospital gown. Her face was blurred. Her hair was tucked behind her ears. She was breathing heavily. Michael stood beside her. He held her hand. He whispered something too low for the camera to catch. Tamar leaned closer. She squinted. She whispered, "Please don't let it be Towanda." The assistant shook her head. The blurred woman turned slightly. Her profile came into view. Tamar gasped so sharply the sound guy jumped. The air left the room. It wasn't Towanda. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't anyone the world had accused. It was someone nobody had even considered a possibility. It was a Braxton sister. But not the one Tamar expected. The blurred figure lifted her head fully, and even through the distortion, the resemblance was unmistakable. It was Tracy. Tamar collapsed into the chair like the world had ended. The assistant covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. The producer whispered, "This will destroy everything." The video ended before anything more was shown. But the damage was irreversible. Tamar's voice shook as she whispered, "Tracy never told us." The assistant said, "Maybe she couldn't." The producer said, "Maybe she wasn't allowed." Social media exploded again, this time with shock so deep it felt like global whiplash. People posted side-by-side photos comparing Ashlee and Tracy. People replayed old episodes where Tracy cried unexpectedly. People resurfaced scenes where Tracy hinted at past trauma. People remembered her strained relationship with the family. People tweeted, "It all makes sense now." Meanwhile, Ashlee reposted a cryptic message. She wrote, I always knew something felt wrong. Fans begged her to elaborate. She didn't. Then a journalist leaked something even more chilling. A document allegedly showing that the woman who gave birth had signed under duress. One line stood out above everything. It said, "Custody transferred to designated family member." That phrase lit the internet on fire. People said Towanda must have been the designated family member. Others argued Tamar was misled entirely. Others insisted Evelyn orchestrated the entire exchange. And then the final blow hit. A voicemail surfaced allegedly from Tracy before her passing. Her voice was shaky but determined. She whispered, "If they ever find out the truth, tell my son I loved him, and tell Ashlee I didn't want to let her go." Tamar broke down hearing it. She sobbed uncontrollably. She whispered, "Oh my God, she was forced, she was forced." The producer ended the recording session. But the world kept watching. And then, suddenly, Tamar's phone buzzed one more time. The screen displayed an unknown number. She answered hesitantly. A man's voice, cold, calm, terrifyingly steady, said, "You're playing with fire you don't understand." Tamar whispered, "Who is this?" The voice replied, "I'm the one who knows what really happened." Then he said the sentence that froze her blood. "You exposed the wrong parent." The line clicked dead. If you made it this far, then you already know we are deep inside a story that is tearing apart an entire legacy. You've watched secrets unravel, lies collapse, and reputations crumble in real time. You've seen hidden births, forbidden relationships, silenced women, and a shadowy figure who just whispered that Tamar exposed the wrong parent. This isn't entertainment anymore. This is history detonating right in front of your eyes. And what comes next will be even more dangerous than anything we've uncovered tonight. There are still names we haven't heard. There are still documents that haven't leaked. There are still recordings waiting to hit the internet the moment the wrong person panics. And we are standing on the edge of a cliff that could collapse at any second. So if you want the truth, if you want the next revelation the moment it drops, you have to stay here. Hit the like button right now so this investigation doesn't get buried under algorithms designed to silence stories like this. Drop a comment so your voice becomes part of the movement demanding answers, accountability, and justice for everyone who has been forced into silence. And subscribe immediately, because the next chapter could drop without warning. One leak. One message. One insider deciding they've had enough. You do not want to wake up and realize the world exploded without you. Stay locked in. Stay ready. Because the truth is coming faster, louder, and darker than anyone expected. And you cannot afford to miss what happens next.